Call the meeting to order.
I'll make a motion to approve minutes.
I'll second that motion.
Motion been made and seconded to approve minutes from previous meeting. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye, all ayes, motion carries. Any additions or corrections to the agenda?
Nope. I'll move to approve the proposed agenda.
I'll second that.
Motion made and seconded to approve the agenda. All in favor, say aye.
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 Aye, all ayes, motion carries.
There were three little, not little, but three claims for drainage. Three drainage claims that we need approved.
I'll make a motion to approve those claims, drainage
I'll
claims.
second the motion.
Motion been made and seconded to approve the drainage claims. All in favor, say aye.
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 Aye, all ayes, motion carries.
50 will be up soon with some tax suspensions.
At our last mental health regional board meeting, counseling LLC that serve us here in Second County has offered to investigate opening an office in Calhoun County because they're not, they get some service from Webster County, but they're looking at possibly opening an office there.
And have hours there so many days a week.
I think,
So-
that, yeah, I don't know that that's worked out, but they've offered to start it. I think the region's gonna look at that favorably because Calhoun County has a lot of areas that they're not being served. So. Neil?
Yeah.
Got a break already?
Has the baseball season started?
Tonight,
Oh, does it?
weather willing.
We can't buy rain our way, so.
They got it, I guess Carroll had 1.6 inches yesterday.
You're
Or last night or something.
They had a big cell yesterday afternoon go down through. We
That's
watched
what
it on
the
radar.
Des Moines
Good for them.
TV said, Carroll had 1.6 inches.
Mark said this morning that he saw somewhere where
Over.
Sloan got
Over
five
five.
over five.
Mhm.
So,
But he only had a quarter last night in Carroll.
Oh, that's right, but he's north of Carroll though.
Yeah, I think it was south.
Yeah.
Any chances yet today
yeah, 60% chance of rain today.
or tonight?
Mostly this afternoon, I think.
Yeah, I think I got a good shot today.
80 degrees most of the week.
Yeah, they were.
Stuff's really growing.
Yeah, it needed that warm weather just.
They'll be making hay pretty soon.
Yeah, it's coming.
Guy up by Sioux City cut and baled it already.
Really?
Yeah, right there in where the 4 lane starts, on the
Oh.
north side of that. He had a big field there, it's been cut and baled already. He had it loaded on the trailers already,
Wow.
going somewhere.
I wonder how good a quality that person cutting would be.
It's usually not as good, but the volume's usually pretty decent.
Yeah.
It'll be stemmier the first
Right.
Be good for grinding.
Okay.
Cattle will eat it either way.
Big round bed.
Yeah.
Were they? How's look out for this year for them?
The baseball team's got a good pitching staff.
Do they?
So they should be okay.
Good.
Softball team, I think they were right around 500 last year. And I'd say they might be a couple of games better than 500 this year, probably. They lost that one, Morgan Wallace, and she's out for the season. She tore her ACL in track, so.
Did you go to the track meet?
Yeah.
Did you?
Down there Friday and Saturday morning. Some guys shooting for me Thursday. So.
Any of the locals do well?
They didn't, nobody placed in the top 8 at least.
I see.
The boys golf won their district.
Yep, they're on to state. Girls are golfing for that honor today.
Where do they play that state tournament?
The boys play at Livermore.
Even the state tournament will
Yeah.
be there?
Livermore is not such a long drive.
No,
Where is that?
Beautiful course,
So-
South
North of-
Algona.
by Algona.
Yeah,
Beautiful course.
yeah, it is. I just can't figure how a little town like Livermore's got such a nice golf course like that.
Well, it's the football players building the house right across the road from me.
Yeah.
Oh,
Played for, tight end for Iowa.
Clark?
Yep,
Dallas Clark?
Yeah, he's from that area, isn't he?
right across the road, he's building
I think the building's house
Yeah.
over there.
Huh.
It is a nice course.
Is he retired now?
I think so, isn't
Yeah.
it?
Oh, yeah. He's been retired.
Not too long.
He played for Colt, Indianapolis Colts, didn't he?
Right. And
But
then
he got traded.
they got rid of, and yeah, he went to New England for a little bit. Or no, he was in Denver that first year after.
Yeah, I know he initially played for the first team a long time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then moved. Had a successful career.
If you can catch the ball, Peyton Manning will get it to you.
Yeah.
Before his injury. Yeah.
Yeah.
And that offense was geared to the passing game, so it'll put up a lot of numbers while when you're throwing it a lot.
If you can withstand the beating. He was a big guy. He was,
Yeah, tight end body.
and
NFL career is a pretty short career for most of those people. I say the average career is 2 to 3 years.
he must have been in 11 or 12, wasn't he?
Right. There's a lot of guys who sit on the bench for 1 year and then they get cut so they can bring in the next crop of younger players.
Went to Dwayne Rody's funeral. He was sheriff for 22 years. Kenny and Dan Brusher were there. He was a policeman in Wall Lake for quite a few years.
Oh, really?
Jerry Smits died, I don't know. He was a businessman in Wall Lake. He and Dale Albright started Boyer, now it's CSB, that chemical plant warehouse down
Okay, that's where I knew that name from.
Jerry's. They got into that wholesale business basically. Really did well with it.
What, he had a disease, didn't he, or?
Yeah, he's been real,
Yeah, Parkinson's or something.
yeah, different things, and he went into the hospital for some surgery like 10 years ago. And, damn near killed him in the hospital. I mean, he almost died from infections or something that went wrong. So but he's been living in a care facility. Good guy.
How many kids did Rhodey have? Couple boys.
5 or 6.
Oh, really?
I think 3 boys. Bill's the oldest. And Tom. I think 5 maybe.
I didn't realize
He grew up in my Herring. Graduated from country school in Herring. Spent some time in the Navy.
Graduated from Herring High, that's pretty cool. Not many of those left.
Marvin Rhodey would be a brother.
Oh, is that right? Yeah.
Wilbur still living. Mrs. Renita Carson's was a sister. I think there's 7 or 8. It's 86.
Do you know how long he served as sheriff?
22 years.
22. And then Roger.
Step
Roger
in.
was his deputy.
So Roger did about 20 as well?
I'm guessing maybe so.
Something like that?
I think Dwayne, was one of the first sheriffs that didn't live here. Prior to that, I think a lot of the sheriffs lived on site, didn't they?
Mm-hmm. I think Bill McClure lived, well, Kenny grew up
Yeah,
in that
yeah,
house.
yeah, Kenny's still.
Yep.
Don Olson,
Mm-hmm.
Mary's uncle, was sheriff.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't remember anybody before Rhodey, so.
Don Olson and then George Moss was in between there someplace. And I don't, he may have lived there too, I'm not sure, but Rhodey stayed in Wall Lake.
Hey, Jim, you sent me 3 sets of minutes. I guess you just not remembered to send them to me other weeks.
Well, I was gone those 2 weeks and
Don't worry.
Renee sat in for me for those 2 meetings.
Yeah, okay. I guess I just didn't remember that.
Yeah, and I wasn't sure if she sent them, so I just,
I'm pretty sure I know one week Kelly asked me, "Have you got your supervisor minutes yet?"
okay.
I don't think so. But I thought that was only 1 week, but.
I say because I think I've seen them in the paper, so I couldn't have. I don't know if I saw it
Yeah,
last.
we'll double check to make sure we don't double run you.
Okay.
If they haven't run, we'll get them.
I was thinking last week's paper, I thought I saw them.
And maybe she did put them in the paper, I don't know, because the Chronicle didn't call asking for them either.
Are you guys talking about minutes?
Yeah,
What date?
the 3rd and the, no,
Because the
I think it was May 6th.
6th and the 13th.
13th just came out today.
That was the first time you got them?
Yep.
Okay.
20th came a couple seconds later. Might have been yesterday. Now that would be ridiculous. It was today. And then the other ones came. The other ones you're talking about came out kind of late too.
Well, the minutes for the 20th, I sent them out on the 21st.
I got them today at 8:51.
Yeah, I didn't get any last week until today,
Really?
I think.
I
I'd
sent
have to
them
double
all.
check now. Maybe I'm wrong.
I sent them all at the same time, that's kind of odd that they didn't.
You know Vicky's number, Jim?
241.
Over the phone, isn't it?
It's right here.
$241.
Vicky, this is where now you were on schedule for 10:15. Okay, thanks.
But I think it's Monday.
Yeah,
I thought it was Monday until 10 to 10.
Tuesday or Monday, that's not good.
That's right.
There aren't any local celebrations between now and the 4th of July, is there?
Oh yeah, Odebo Creek Days,
When's that?
21st?
Of June?
June, yeah, they're always in June.
When's popcorn days?
It's usually the
It's like July.
weekend after the 4th of July.
Yeah, 11th, 12th. Early Crossroad Days is
Usually falls the same weekend as the water carnival.
July
Yeah.
19th.
Which I think is dumb.
I know it's July 19th.
I just have a suspension that just came in, the letter from social services.
It's a DHS suspension. I'll make the motion to go ahead and honor this tax suspension for this property.
I'll second that motion.
Motion's been made and seconded to suspend the taxes. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All ayes, motion carries.
Great, thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, Steve.
Have either of you guys seen any information about Governor Brandstadt's any vetoing or line item vetoing or anything that's come to him? Have you seen
I
that?
haven't heard of anything being vetoed. They send me all the ones he's passed.
One of those has an effect on mental health. Deal about the 25% balance
I
piece.
think he's got to the end of this week, doesn't he? Or- That's what he said in
Gets
Iowa
gets
Press.
30 days from whenever it was brought. I just caught the tail end of that Iowa Press. So.
Yeah. They were hustling, trying to get him to answer as many questions as they could. At the end there, OK Henderson was trying to butt in on his answer and get one more question.
I saw that, and the moderator, he had to get him shut off for overtime. He
Yeah.
says.
Mhm. They could have filled an hour with him if they wanted to. That would have turned into a campaign speech.
Has Branstad announced who he's gonna back in the Senate primaries?
I don't think so.
I don't know.
He's picked sides on that.
Bill Norley has
And who'd he go with?
Jacobs.
Jacobs.
Hey,
He
Ron,
did?
this is Dean. We're checking on your schedule
Really?
this morning.
I've always liked Bill Northey a lot. I really, he's got a really good presentation. He's got really good people skills and very
Okay,
knowledgeable in
see
the
that.
ag part.
Supervisors, this is Renell.
Locally, the only person I've seen signs up for is Clovis.
Yes, he's right
Really?
here.
Hello? Yes. Yeah.
Sounds like Ernst is leading,
Yeah.
Jacobs is.
We haven't, what do you,
The register endorsed Joe Meekins.
Did they?
I like the Clovis, but I don't think he ain't gonna have a
Um,
chance.
Can I, how much
He's
was
got a
removed?
good
How much do
message.
you want back?
He just doesn't look like the guy you'd want to elect as a politician. I mean, he's big, heavy set
Yeah.
guy.
I like what he says.
Yeah, I do too.
Yeah. And unfortunately, we live in a
The
world where
engineer will be
looks
in,
matter.
I will see that we have that discussion and get back to you. How's that? What's your number?
Ron will be here at 11.
466. Okay, we will get back to you before the end of the day. Thanks. That was Mark Warmont wondering what we had decided about the dirt removal. He had asked them for, he said that they had removed way more than 3 loads and he had asked them for 3 loads back. And hadn't heard from them. So we need to have that conversation with Sean today.
I talked to Mike Rydell in SAC last week. He resolved that issue with Jim Crop and Ray Woodward.
Hmm,
Okay.
that's good.
Kind of created a path so that
Okay.
he didn't have to go through the cemetery. So he said it was the result.
Good.
The lake preservation meeting open house was really, there were about 300 people there.
Really? That was that well attended?
Yeah, it was. It was, what, $20 a couple, 25 per individual, $30 a couple. And part of it went towards the trip, you know. There was one free beverage and hors d'oeuvres. And, they had about an hour-long program. They showed a picture of they had a video of the aquatic harvester.
Oh, really?
Yeah,
Oh, really?
it was just running continually. I didn't
The,
realize,
the grasshopper one?
you know, it's, you know, I didn't realize it was a paddle wheel for for motion.
Oh, really?
You know, because an engine would, most boat engines would plug up with the seat.
Sure.
So it throws a lot of water. It must be like a 12, 15-foot wheel. Maybe more than that.
So are
Maybe
they,
about 20 foot in diameter, because half of it, but how water flies off that thing.
are they, I assume that the cutting utensils on one end of the boat and the drive is on the other end of the boat, or how was it
I
set
don't know
up?
where the motor is. They were painting it last week. It should be here in a couple of weeks. But yeah, there's like a conveyor that's down in the water and cuts and goes up the conveyor into a pile, kind of mid-shift or towards the back, and then when it gets, I don't know, so much weight, then it goes over and offloads it.
How long is the vessel? What'd you guess?
Probably 50 feet.
They have hired the help to run it.
The city, I went to a meeting, they have 2 individuals. There'll be a lot of days they'll just, ideally they get up really early and work before the waves get,
Yeah.
after, as soon as there's significant waves, they gotta park it. So the city's gonna try and find other things for them to do. Kind of round out their, so I think they're getting close.
How often do you think they have to run that thing?
So,
Whenever it's fit for, June, it's starting to grow. So,
Is there quite a few boats over there?
yeah, the lake is full of boats.
so the grass hasn't come up enough to hurt them?
No, not yet. It didn't last year until July.
I see.
So, I don't know how, if they run it for 6 hours, I don't know how many tons of stuff they get. And the city's gonna load it on the dump truck and haul it to the farm. They don't want, there might be some odor associated with it, so they don't want to pile it up in town.
I would say eventually they make good compost.
Scotty's, he's gonna take some.
Wouldn't you have to grind it?
I think, I don't know, he's got a vertical beater spreader. He's hoping it'll spread
I
like
see.
corn stalks.
If it dries out, I think it'll.
Yeah, I guess we'll find out.
The lake's still a little lower.
It's about, about a foot
About a
long.
foot underneath the overflow.
Storm Lake's really low.
That's what I heard too. Same with
Storm
Clear
Lake's
Lake.
watershed is noticeably smaller than ours.
Oh, I didn't know that.
It is. It's a lot smaller than Black Hawk Lake. And they keep dredging it deeper. You wonder if they don't have enough water to fill it. I mean, the deeper you dig a hole,
More water's gonna take to fill it.
yeah.
They had on Sioux City the other night, they were saying that the Okoboji Clear Lake lakes were low.
Yeah, Jeremy's, they were up there this weekend, it's 2 or 3 feet long.
Oh, they didn't indicate that one, but
It's low. Some people have put their docks.
they were talking about having to be really careful with boats because rocks.
The fishing's getting really good.
I've been hearing
Those
that.
walleyes, I think they gotta be 15 inches long, and they're starting to surpass that, so. Yesterday, there was tons of people fishing around the lake.
Cool.
I have to open the meeting, okay. It's 10:30, I'll open the public hearing for budget amendment.
We published our notice of intent to amend the current budget 2 weeks ago. We had total adjustment in the revenues of $216,711. Total adjustments and expenditures of $437,188 for a net adjustment of $220,470. The revenue side of it included some additional state grants from the ambulance and public health, federal grant. Public health had a Medicare grant of $40,000. The ambulance had an increase in projected revenue of $46,000 in ambulance fees and $6,450 in additional miscellaneous receipts. Public health nurse had an additional $85,000 Medicaid grant. The elections, county auditor's office had an $18,700 election reimbursement from the cities and the schools for last year's elections. Sheriff had some secret investigation revenues of $10,492. On the expenditure side of it, the majority came in terms of adjustments in the health insurance for all the county employees. That was close to $100,000, I think. The physical health and education, there was some adjustments in there. Secondary roads adjusted their expenditures in the amount of $108,000 for a new retired loan. There was a $26,000 increase in expenditures in election supplies, and that was the purchase of our new equipment. That decision came after the budget was already adopted, so we had to answer that. And like I said, the rest of it was in the amount, most of it was health insurance. In the administration line item in the maintenance of the building, we did some sidewalk repairs around the courthouse and the senior center. We put a different air conditioner heating system in the comm center, and fixed up the basement in the ambulance building for their continuing education meeting. If there's any specific questions, I'll try to answer them. Conservation had an adjustment of $3,800 for one of their projects out there. I'm not sure exactly what it was.
Straightforward.
Make a motion to close the public hearing.
I'll second that motion.
Motion been made and seconded to close the public hearing. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All ayes, motion carries.
I'll make the motion to approve the proposed amendment.
I'll second that motion.
Motion been made and seconded to approve the amendment. All in favor, say aye.
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 Aye. All ayes, motion carries. Go in recess.
County crews is running several paved road shoulders, relocating or repairing several intakes in Cedar and Coon Valley Townships. Repairing tile lines and right-of-way on Wasley Avenue, north of 380th Lane. Patching holes in PC pavements around the county. Scheduling culvert replacement on Dean Avenue, half-mile south, north of 400th Street. Laying gravel roads, graveling in Eureka Township. Scheduling a graveling contract. Scheduling contract graveling in 6 townships to start June 3rd, weather permitting. Project status, I don't have any new news on our Boy River Bridge. I need to get hold of the contractor, and I'd requested an updated schedule, but I haven't heard back from them yet, so I need to call them. White topping, no new news there. Pavement marking, Vogel Traffic Service did finish the pavement painting last week, the stop bars they had left to do, so that's done. Item 3, got a letter from DOT regarding the Nunez property.
Nunez.
How you say it?
Nunez.
Nunez? I assume, did the board get that too?
Yeah, Joe talked to you about.
Yeah, and she, somebody from DOT left a message to call him back, which I did. Left a message and my phone number, and he never called back.
Okay.
So I don't know why he wanted to talk to me, but
Well, he called me too on Thursday. It wasn't Sharon Bowers, it was somebody else. What he explained to me was they were trying to speed up the process. You know, the county's got, what is it, 30 days? Yeah. 30 days, if they haven't heard from you or made any offer in 30 days, then they move on to the next step. And so if he could get a note from all the parties that they sent this to that they were not interested in purchasing it at appraised value, then they'll move on to the next step sooner. So,
Did they say the appraised value in there?
$1,890,000.
How many acres?
You know, I thought he told me on the phone the other day it was 251 acres.
Property?
part of it's timber and part of it's ag land.
Yeah. I think he told me 140 was farm ground and 110 was timber.
Or, we've had this conversation multiple times on Dean's point of
7,500 an acre.
being condemned for road purposes and then possibly moving it to another entity for not road purposes is just not right. And our position has always been that we want it back in private hands, and I hope that happens, but
Ron, you said 1,890,000.
Yeah.
I divided $7,529 an acre.
for all properties.
I mean, yeah. I mean, if some of it's timber and some of it's crop, it's pretty expensive.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it's on the high side of where we've been.
He had given me some numbers on the phone the other day, and I must have left that note in Rockville City, but if I remember right, I think I divided it out too. I think the ag land was valued for just under 10,000, like 95, 97, 98, 100. And then the timber ground, I thought he said it was like 7,000, I think, for it. I don't know whether that.
Well, we had a private individual who had farmed it contact us or contact me personally, I guess, and he had indicated that they were asking 11 for the farmland. And he had interest in buying the farmland back, and
Well, 140
Times 10's $1,000,004.
and 4, and so that's 590,000 divided by 100 acres. 5,900 for the timber.
And again, I'm trying to remember that from memory from last Thursday, so.
I wonder what they paid for it when they took it from.
About half that.
That's what I was thinking.
Probably about half, maybe
You know,
60.
you can't do anything about
No.
that part of it. I don't have an issue.
And your office ought to be able to look that up to see what they paid for it. You know, if someone wanted to know that, it's public record.
But Dean's right. I mean, the day of current value, both then and now, I mean, we can't change that. But our interest is getting it back into private party hands, not passing it to another government entity. And I wish we could control that.
And the guy I talked to the other day, and again, I don't remember his name off the top of my head, but it wasn't the same guy that I talked to on that one up here north on.
On 196.
Yeah, relative to the 196 project. But he said the letter had been sent to the board, the secondary roads, and the conservation, was my understanding.
Yeah, we got one.
And as soon as they can get a response back, then they can move on to the next step, which is, I can't remember what is the next step. The offering it to the joining landowners.
But isn't DNR in our level as well?
No, he said they don't. Even though that listing I gave you, since the state was included in that level 2, the state only gets a notice if they've got adjoining property to it. In this case, he says DNR is not adjoining this property.
Okay. So with that being said, then I feel a little bit more comfortable
About,
about.
we talked about it at the conservation board. You know, we don't have the funds to, you know, unless somebody would step forward. You know.
I'm surprised,
I it must be in the other room.
So, you know, if you, 141 acres times 11,000, per acre would be 1,551,000. And that'd be 339,000 for the 110 acres of timber.
I'm surprised in this document, it didn't tell you the total acres.
So that's 3,000 an acre for the timber.
That they're, and I know the timber was a lot higher than that, so I don't know if I got the
Okay.
acres wrong or what. but
I think you're a little long on acres, is what I think. Because I was thinking that just off the top of my head, there was like 140 cropland, and then not quite 100 in timber, but that might not be right.
I mean, this doesn't include I don't know if you were interested in buying it and wanted to look at the appraisal value, I'm sure you could call it the appraisal value. But this description, they surveyed this piece here south, this is new 20s here. This is the old railroad, which the conservation owns, right?
Well, we've got some property up there.
I think this strip through there. Anyway,
Lubeck Woods, so.
they've got an acre 52 down here in this corner. And then they've got a description where they surveyed the part here. And then in the rest of this, they're using these old descriptions, apparently, that how it was transferred sometimes in the past, but none of these descriptions show any acres. But there'd be, 20, almost 20, 40, 40, except for the roads that are out of there. And then this looks like this is a fractional quarter, so this must be 1, 2, 3, 4.
You know, if the
250 acres, I think, you're not supposed to be right as far as
They don't-
total acreage, but I don't know.
You know, if it goes to the step, the current, or previous landowner, current landowner, if they don't want it, it seems like the fairest way is just put it up for auction. Because you start saying adjoining landowners, and then, you know, that one, I mean, you know, if you do adjoining landowners, you'd almost have to do sealed bids, or an auction between the two adjoining landowners. You know, we've been in an auction like that.
Sure.
You get invited to a lawyer's office, and they have an auction right there in the lawyer's office.
My understanding that all the DOT does is just send out the letter that says, are you interested in paying?
At this price, right, that's correct.
What if both of them say, yes, I'll pay?
Then they send, if they both say they'll pay that price, they both send them both another letter and say, would you like to increase your offer?
Yeah, that's why that read.
Yeah, that, you know, that's consistent with some things I've seen in the past.
So then if one offers more than the other, then the one that offers more has it, you know?
Yeah.
But there's no going back and forth.
Yeah.
You get a second chance, and unless you both stay the same amount, you can suppose it needs another letter. But then, it's.
Well,
it's-
if they're going to a private party, which it kind of sounds like now that it is the next step, then, I mean, I don't have any issue with going ahead and letting them advance if they want.
And he says typically, if they don't get sold in one of these first three steps and go to auction, he says then a lot of times, you know, they don't bring half to three quarters what the appraised value is. So, because a lot of times you're buying them with access issues.
Right. Which is really cuts value in certain circumstances.
Right.
You know, we mentioned those borrow pits. You know, like my land surrounds the borrow pit, and I don't buy it at their price value. If I'm gonna get to it, they don't want you, they're not gonna put a new lane or access along the highway.
They can't.
They can't.
Yeah.
Anyway, I was gonna,
Okay.
I guess I had Kim scan and send this letter over this morning, and so I haven't had a chance to really read through it very close, but I see no reason secondary roads should buy this. I'll contact him and tell him that, you know, we're not interested, so if he wants to go on to the next step, is find secondary roads, so.
Where's Pro Co-op and their dust control application?
They just started in Calhoun, excuse me, they're planning to start tomorrow.
So they're starting to do some prep work.
Yeah. Yeah. Heffron did theirs a couple weeks ago, but they did it that day they got that heavy rain.
That happens.
So they got a lot of complaints about how well.
So then what?
Sometimes that happens, like when they just put it on, we get a big rain, and half of it runs down the hill.
What is it that they put on?
Pro Co-op is using lignin sulfonate, which is a tree sap byproduct of the paper industry. It basically works by sealing the surface. It's almost, once it dries, it's almost like a caramel. I mean, it sets up like a caramel, and if you take it, you know, we've had people they said they've chipped it off their car after they've driven through it wet. Look what's on my car. Well, you put it in a glass of hot water and give it about 15 minutes, and it turns the water cloudy and it disappears. So hot water will take it off of the vehicle. But it basically works by sealing the surface, and it does an okay job, but on roads that have got high traffic on them, once they start to break up, if you get a time in the rain will sort of rejuvenate it, but if it starts to break up, once it starts breaking up, you can't go in there and blade just sections and try to fix it. Heffron is using, and I guess I'd have to double check, I think they're using magnesium chloride, but it might be calcium chloride, which is basically a salt, and it works by drawing moisture out of the air, so when it's humid, you know, it'll pull water down there and keep the dust down.
If you're fond of your car, you know,
Don't drive on it.
lignite, you know, that salt is hard on cars, or the lignite sulfate, if you just stay off it the first day, and go around the section or drive real slow or drive on the grass, it comes off. But it works pretty good. We've been using it for 10 years or so.
Typically, if you
It
give
holds the
about,
dust in.
typically give about 3 or 4 hours, and it's pretty well dried out.
I wonder how many people in Sac County.
I don't know, Mike gets that list, and I guess I had
Supervisors, super now.
the advantage of the calcium, or magnesium chloride or calcium chloride is if it does start to get potholes a little bit, you can blade it lightly and not disturb it quite as bad.
Mike's never really had to, they've never had to blade ours too much.
No,
That's just
we're in a
gonna-
board meeting right now.
He puts in about 800-900 feet.
Uh,
He's on they're traveling real fast.
Tomorrow. Yeah. Okay.
Usually put it on the first week in June.
At some point, we gotta have this discussion. Mark Warnmont called again about his 3 loads of dirt that were removed from his property. And, we really have never resolved that as far as knowing what our policy is gonna be, moving forward. I land on the side that it's still property owner property and that we shouldn't be hauling it off unless we have asked and it's off season where they don't want it dumped across on their property. He's indicating that he's gonna move forward with the litigation unless he had indicated he wanted 3 loads back. He figures there was a lot more removed, but his offer was to take 3 loads and that'll be the end of it.
Was he on his property was on the east side of?
Yeah. It's on the east side.
Where we cleaned just that corner.
You're right by old Highway 20.
Yeah. Highway 20 and, M50.
And so I have indicated that we will get back to him before the end of the day with some sort of answer. So,
But, if we were, do we deliver 3 loads and throw it in the field? Or haul it to the street?
I would just dump it on his yard and be done with it. That's what I'm in favor of doing.
Well, where I'm going, I
But
don't-
that's only this time.
I'm talking
From
about
now on,
other
it's-
counties.
It will be dumped in the field.
Yeah,
The
and
only
I
place,
think we have to resolve that.
If they don't want, if they don't want us dumping it in the field, then it's up to them to truck it, or, we don't wanna start.
Absolutely. I
Like this
agree.
guy said, this is my dirt, okay, well, and I've talked to the supervisors at Carroll, Crawford, and they won't let us dump it across the fence, where rain or shine or crop or what. I don't wanna get in the business of trucking.
I
No,
agree.
No, I don't either.
I don't think that's, I totally agree.
And
if-
it didn't come from their feed yard, it came from the gully right across the fence, so to speak. And that's where,
And I don't think, we've kind of, we really haven't resolved,
no.
as far as the policy is concerned. I mean, you can ask 3 different people and get 3 different answers. We've got scheduling problems. We are not in the transportation piece of it, have no interest in being. And yet you certainly can argue the point that on one side that they're not maintaining the soil erosion, so we gotta get it out of there. On the other side of it, most roadways are easements, and so that really physically is still their property if it's in the ditch or not. So, I mean, you can argue all sides of this.
So if we do need to clean a ditch, we just have to notify the owner and give him an advance notice that we're gonna clean it, and if he wants the dirt, he has to have.
It either goes back onto their property across the fence,
Or he has to have-
gives you permission to haul it away and do it whatever you
Or
want.
he supplies the trucks to
Or
move.
he's-
If he wants it,
Yeah.
Yeah.
he supplies the cost of transportation.
I mean, I guess I go back to the fact that, again, it is an easement for road purposes. And it's not like we're hauling this dirt off to sell it to somebody or use it outside of the road right away. It stays in the road right away, you know. I think what creates problems more often than not is when they see the dirt being cleaned out of the ditch. And we've got driveways we're building in the area, so we drive down the road and dump it on driveways we built. If we haul it into the shop, I don't know that we get as many complaints, but when it goes down the road,
Absolutely.
and it looks like it's
It's,
going
there's
somebody
a,
else.
you could, like I said, you can argue all sides of this thing. I'm not indicating, I know that I have the right answer. We've got this has come up quite a long time ago. I know there was a confrontation about it. We haven't developed the policy and certainly didn't have a written one in advance of this.
Right.
And so just for this purpose today, I would make the motion that we deliver the 3 loads of dirt on this property, a one-time arrangement, and that's the end of it, and that we do have to make the commitment to have a written policy as to how we're going to deal with it in the future.
Define property.
I would say his yard. You don't.
In the
you-
same section or a different section?
I'd say the same section.
Okay.
If it's within shouting distance and he has to deliver, just deliver it where he asks. Don't haul it across the country somewhere. If we got it across the road and he wants it up on his yard, just dump it on the yard, be done with it, and that's the end of it. I made that motion.
Well, I think if we're gonna do it, it should be at least in the same section
Where we took the dirt
Yeah.
from.
I'll second that one.
But you wanted to include the same section.
I think in a single case like this, I'm not sure it makes a whole lot of difference
Yeah.
one way or the other.
But I
think it's
guess,
a big-
you know,
it's a bigger
Rick-
issue.
And Rick said this is one time
Yeah, the one-time arrangement.
and with the direction the road the engineer formulated a policy, then we'll have to discuss that. And once Ron presents a policy, then we'll discuss and decide whether we're going to enact that proposed policy.
Motion's been made and seconded to give Mark the 3 loads of dirt. All in favor, say aye.
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 His phone number is 712-660-1661, and if you call him back fairly soon. I mean, it has to be today, but after lunch.
I mean, again, I tried to research this, I've researched like several times in the past, and I come up with the answer that the code really doesn't say that it's not our dirt. It says we can use it for road purposes. There hasn't been any cases that I've heard of where it's gone to court and the landowner's won, or I don't even know that there's been either way, I guess, but.
It just seems like in our experience, it's come up multiple times, and we don't get a resolution to it, and then we may not hear anything of it for 6 months to a year, and then here it is again. And I guess I'm asking to.
I don't want to
Figure it out.
hamstring the roads department that, we gotta wait and do it when the crop's out.
Yeah, we can.
Because you just look at the calendar of frozen ground, and pretty soon you'll have guys going, well, I know this is the policy, but, in my case, why can't you wait till I get done combining beans?
Right.
Say, that is gonna work.
And don't you think, though, that we can write as part of this policy that it's whenever time allows at the discretion of the road department, that when you need to do the work, it's that day or that week, you determine whether you want it over the fence or gone. And you can word that to say that because of scheduling issues and the lack that, like you had stated, you certainly have a window to do that work. It has to be at the discretion of the road department.
So if they decide to have that dirt trucked to someplace else, we're not gonna allow Sac County trucks to haul it anywhere, period?
You can have that discussion whether you want to charge to do that, or you say that they have to provide the truck. Doesn't matter to me in that piece.
Well, you gotta realize sometimes what we're training out of ditches, is slop, corn stalks, you know, stuff that is washed in, stuff that we really don't want in our dirt pile.
So what do you do with that
A
then?
lot of times they try to give it to whoever they can find close by and haul it to them. You know, or times when we're trying to get good dirt, say for a road culvert project, you don't want all the sod, you know, in the fill around the pipe or the box, and so they'll find somebody to try to give that to. Again, it's not real good dirt because it's got a lot of organic matter in it typically.
Sure. Well, I mean, I think we can word it to.
I'll try to see what some other.
Do the intention of what we do it, but at the same time, we keep putting this off and then it keeps coming back.
Well,
We can't
90%.
really, you know, our trucks can't really, we don't wanna run it around.
That's my point.
In somebody's yard, and then you're responsible if
We
you
don't
do
need to
back
run
over a ladder or.
So that comes down, if they can't provide the transportation for the dirt, then they have to agree that it's road department dirt, and that's the end of it.
Or put it in the field.
Right.
I mean, 90% of the time we're cleaning out the ditches, you know, the landowner a lot of times has requested to be cleaned out because the dirt is, you know, eroded in there from high, you know, winds or rains or whatever, and they're more than glad to get the project done, and they don't care where the dirt goes.
Right.
It's just every once in a while you run into this person
That thought it
that
was
thinks
theirs.
it's their dirt, and
Yeah.
they think we need to give it back to them.
But I see no reason that we can't define that and create the policy that you want and agree to.
Item 4 there, got a letter from the DOT regarding moving M54 the detour in 2015 for Highway 196 projects. They've actually got 5 separate projects that will be let, I think next January. One of them's a bridge over the Cedar River, second one's a bridge over the Raccoon River. Third one is grading and paving 196. And then there's a box culvert project, and then traffic signs. So.
There's a box culvert in between those two bridges, isn't there? There's a. I
On the
forgot about
drainage,
that
on the
one.
drainage ditch.
Down
Yeah.
there by Bud Brook.
Yeah.
I have not talked to anybody from the DOT yet. I want to, you know, visit with them a little bit more about. I'm sure what they're trying to do here is set up a detour that would take traffic, detour 196 west on 175-71, and then turn them north on M54 into Sac City, and then detour would actually come down here to the stoplights and then go north on M54 out to 20. And then, of course, 3 miles east back to 196. But,
So they'll have to have an arrangement with the city as well? then?
yep. And I had sent an email to Roxanne Stewart, the gal that sent this to me, asking whether, you know, they'd had any conversations with the city. And supposedly the city's already verbally agreed to the detour. The one thing that's been added into this form that wasn't there before is a request that the DOT inspects those bridges and give us a bridge rating for the standard oversized loads up to 156,000 pounds. To see if there was, if we were gonna allow oversized loads to use that route. I guess some of the questions I've got is, are these projects gonna be going on at the same time? Are they going to, I mean, I can see where they'd start the two bridge projects and the traffic like going east out of town here would still get across to 196 on Old 20. But I think the official detour would be up in 54. But I'm just gonna have some more conversation. I'm ready to sign this or do anything with it today, but I'm just.
So with all those projects, 196 is gonna pretty much be closed for a long, long time next summer. I mean, most.
Are they gonna do
projects-
the bridges the same time?
It sounds like they're all supposed to be in the same letting, and I haven't seen any of the, contract documents to see whether they've got wording in there about how the projects are going to coordinate with each other. But I could see, if they're working on the Raccoon River Bridge and the Cedar Bridge, traffic could go south on M54, cross on the airport road, take 196 south and take D46 east. So I can see where at times there's still traffic going to use parts of 196, but they won't be able to get clear through from end to end. And then, of course, at some point, if it's shut down for grading, they'll.
Won't they wipe out I assume they'd close the whole thing. I mean, they'll let you cross, but you.
Well, until they get ready to tear the road up, though, I think you'd have a closure at the Raccoon River, and you'd have a closure at the Cedar, and the rest of the road could be used. Through traffic is going to come through there, but local traffic could.
Plus the culvert in between.
And then, when the culverts, I don't know, they didn't say on the culvert whether that was a precast or a cast in place, I guess I don't know. But, they would,
Yeah.
if we agree to it, they would do a permanent sign and signpost for the detours would actually be installed this fall. And they also would paint it, well, we just got done painting it, so.
That new stretch from Old 20 D36 up to New 20 is a Cadillac road. If they end up,
They graded that and paved it the same year.
Right.
that's a beautiful road.
They must have packed. I mean, a lot of times you like this, go through a winter. They graded that, paved that.
It'll be interesting to see, watch that over the years.
Yeah.
Is it? But man, it's beautiful now.
Yeah, I agree with that.
They had, originally, when we had some preliminary visits with them, they talked about making an official detour over to Highway 71 and up and then back. And I said, well, you do that, and nobody's gonna follow that. All the local traffic's gonna come.
We're gonna get the traffic
We're gonna get the
anyway.
traffic anyway, so,
A lot of people will do that though, because it's really, coming up to Sac on 54, you got those two curves, and then you got reduced speed for almost 2 miles. So, I think a lot of people will go through Lakeview and over the country, unless it's local traffic.
Mhm.
Well, the truck traffic, if their destination is further north, it makes sense for them to go over 7.
Yeah.
and once
Yeah.
they realize that.
That's right.
Otherwise, these turn at 5th Street with a truck.
They'll make one trip to you, and then,
Yeah.
same way with the traffic that's heading anywhere east. Of course, if they're going up on 71 to Auburn anyhow, they're gonna go over N 28 and go north. So, anyway, I'll review this a little bit more.
With the celebration in Linton, I bet I got asked 20 times when we're gonna do that slurry, or if we're gonna do anything, first off, are we gonna do anything with it? And I said, yes, we are.
They're trucking that stuff.
Hopefully this summer. Do you have any date on that at all?
I haven't heard anything back, no.
They're starting to stockpile that stuff.
Are they?
I assume they'll start with the DOT project first, since they've got an earlier.
But is that July, or do you know when
They
that
had
is?
said once they were gonna start late May, June,
I
so
see.
I
Cool.
think they were gonna try to do it one of the first projects.
Excellent.
I think the cool spring has slowed them down.
Truck
And it's really not that rough, it's just noisy. You know, you have the car, because actually it's more level than it's been in years. But it's just the noise.
Yeah, yeah.
Thanks, Ron.
Thanks, Ron.
I'll make a motion to adjourn.
I'll second the motion.
Motion's been made and seconded, and adjourn, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye, all ayes, motion carries.